Alright, welcome to the next lesson. So in this lesson, I will be showing you how to create a jump body mechanics. Alright, so as we did the last time, we'll come to the first key pose here. Select it. I think we'll just we'll delete everything anyway. But first, before we delete everything, let's save this particular run cycle. Like first selecting this fake user to save you. If you read the message there, it says save this data block even if it has no user. So once you select this particular icon, it saves this data, the run cycle data. So even if you launch Blender, anytime, or you shut down, Blender, you want to launch it again, you still have your run cycle here. Or if you want to export Blender or append the run cycle to another file, you can actually do it. So once that is selected, I'll select the next button here to create a new action. Right, I'll call this jump. Alright, so I'll select everything in the keyframe and delete everything. Alright, so everything is deleted. I'll clear out the rotation and scale. I'll just Alt R, Alt G, Alt S. So everything is cleared out. My character is now, without any animation. Okay. The next thing we're going to do now is bring in a reference. Alright, so I know some of you will be wondering, why is this guy always working with reference? Brothers and sisters, you always need a reference. It's really important to work with a reference. If you can't find a reference online, you put your phone or your camera and shoot a reference video. The best animators in the industry usually use a reference. They always use a reference, and you can't become a good animator without a reference. You always need to work with references. And you can't actually observe or train your eyes without references. So that's why it is a must that you must use a reference. Never try to animate from your head, no matter how genius you are. Always use a reference. Always use a reference. Okay, so this is our reference. This is the reference for our jump cycle. So we're going to make it a little bit more dramatic for our own. So we're going to create let's say fence from whence this character jumps from. Press Alt Shift C to center my cursor to the origin. Okay, and press and switch to object mode. Alright, press Shift A to add a cube. Bring this forward. Look at it from the front view. Bring this forward. Okay. I think I'll increase it again from the Z-axis so it's a bit higher, so the character jumps from a particular distance. So that's why I said we want to make it a bit dramatic. Alright, so I'll select my character now, and press Z to move it up to that distance. Make sure it's standing on our supposed fence. So move it to the edge just a bit. Alright, so our character is standing, ready to take flight. Standing, ready to take flight. Sorry, I'm trying to switch my mouse. Alright, so the character is standing, ready to take flight. Sorry, for some reason my mouse is really acting up right now. Okay, so the character is going to jump from this distance and land on the floor. Let's add a plane so we can actually be sure that it's landing on the floor there. So add a plane, so it lands on the floor. So you can get a reference. You can get a reference of a character jumping, maybe somersaulting, or jumping and creating a backflip, or just flipping around and lands on the floor. However you want to do it, I would advise you start from the basic. That's why we're using this one. This is a little bit advanced, but I mean, that's why I wanted to also be a bit dramatic with our own, jump. Okay, camera is out there. I'm supposed to come out a bit. Okay, so I mean, it's up to you. You can just get references if you want to practice reference of your character jumping, maybe somersaulting, maybe jumps and rolls. However you want to do it, but it's important you start with the really, really simple ones, so you grow from there. So don't try to graduate when you haven't started learning. So that's my point. All right, so let's start by keying out the poses. Okay, so I'll select my character, the control, I'll switch to pose mode. All right, and let's try to get the key pose here, the neutral pose. All right, so I'll be animating 5 frames interval. Right, I'll be animating at 5 frames interval. Right, so at some point, then when we are done keying out our poses, then we can now work on the timing. Don't worry, work on timing. You understand what timing is in animation. We've already started animating anyway, so it's first set out the blocking, then timing, then extra blocking, then polishing, depending on how fast and how precise or accurate you are. But don't worry, you get the gist when we go deeper into animation. Alright, so you have a neutral, then anticipation. Remember our 12 principles of animation. So one of it is anticipation. So we have our jump, and you have a little bit stretched. So there's a stretch here. Alright, so there's a character mid-air, which is a squash. We are applying the principle of animations to our character. There's another stretch, there's a squash, there's an overlap, the head will overlap, or then back to the neutral. Okay, so let's get right into it. So everything is set. Make sure your auto key is turned on so it records every action you make with your controls. Alright, so let's first key the first neutral pose. So I'll relax the hips a bit. Just bring that down just a bit there. So we'll be switching. Okay, I think we'll just leave it at FK. We'll do everything at FK. Then right here we'll switch the hands to IK. So we have that stretch at the end. Then before we land we still land at IK, then back to FK. So remember, we'll be switching from IK to FK. So remember what FK and IK means: forward kinematics and inverse kinematics. Yeah. So we'll be using that here on this short animation. So we'll pose our first neutral pose. So copy and paste that there. So let me bring this back a bit. Maybe your character is looking down. I think I'm okay with this pose. I'll move this forward just a bit. Okay, I think I'm okay with that. So So these controls are for you to play with. I mean, don't think because we've been using the arms, the leg, and the root bone, you can't play with the rest of them. So just, I mean, look at it from different angle, anyhow you want your characters to be like. So I think the shoulder is dropped a bit, so copy and paste that at the other end. Alright, so we copy and paste at the other end. And the hand is a bit relaxed. Do the same thing for the other one. So we fold the hands, the fingers a bit in. Do the same thing for the other one. I think I'm okay with this. I'll select everything, press I to insert the keyframe, or come to frame 5. You know, that's how you animate basically. I mean, somebody's asking, is that how we animate? Like, yeah, that's how you animate. So you just take references, or you shoot a reference of what you want your character to do, and pose your character to do the same thing. So I'm going to pose this anticipation. So the character is anticipating, so it's going to bend. Open, you use the leg pull to open the legs, or copy and paste that there. I'll clear out the rotation for this one. So remember our head. I need to remove the head follow. We will free the orientation for the head. Okay. So rotate the arms. Where's my mouse? I'm not in a good mood today. Select both of this, copy, Ctrl Shift V to paste it at the other part. So I think I'll move this back. Notice the other feet. It's moved back a bit. So there's that anticipation. Maybe we'll just lift it up a bit so it's, or we'll use this control in front here, this one right here. Just rotate it up a bit so it has that anticipation. So you remember when I said it's about training your eyes? So trying to, recreate this pose. Okay, so I'll select everything, add a keyframe. While I'm here, I'll switch my interpolation to constants. Okay, for now. So this is the first key pose, second key pose, first key pose, second key pose. Alright, so we'll move to frame 10 and create the jump pose now. Okay, so the first thing I'll do is clear this rotation by hitting Alt R to clear the rotation. I'll do the same thing for this one, clear the rotation. Then clear the transform from here. That's Alt G to clear the transform, like the one that moves. character. Okay, then the next thing I will do is go from the side view, then move my character up, just there. Okay. So don't forget your feet. So I can now rotate this one. Sorry. Rotate these feet. Like that. If you notice there's a stretch on the feet here, I think I'll just clear out the rotation for this top spine. So I'm actually looking at my character, the way it's rotating like mid-air. So use rotation to rotate my rotation key, that's R, to rotate my character's hands this way. So select these controls, select this one, holding down shift, select the rest of them, copy, then Control Shift V to paste it there. So I'll lift the head up. Okay, I think I'll stretch this backwards a bit, just to have that arc. If you notice the arc here, just to have that arc. So if I look at it from the side view now, so if you notice the leg, there is a stretch. So if you come to your tools panel and scroll down, the feet is in IK, right? So you just see auto stretch. So you want to put this at 1, select the left feet, put switch auto stretch to 1. So let's stretch. So what that does is that it allows you stretch any parts, especially usually the hands and the feet. So it stretches the hands and the feet just a little bit there. So there's a stretch there. So I think I'll clear out the rotation here. So you'll find you have this. So rotate these hands just a bit there. So rotate this hand just there. So I think we have the pose for the jump now. So select everything, press I to add a keyframe there. So you see, if you scroll, you can see. So I'll select everything anyways. I'll select all my keyframe. Press T to change, switch to constant. So we actually see the pose as it is, no in between. So it's when we get to the pose that the action takes place. So at frame 15, okay, we'll establish the mid-air pose. So I'll move this up just a bit here, but a little bit in front. Move the feet up. I'll look at it from the front view. And it is, just I'll move the feet pull, the foot pull. So if you're looking for the name of each of these control, you have them here. So you have the leg pull there. So side view again. So I'll do the same thing for this one. I think this one goes behind. This one comes in front. So front view. Press 1 to come to the front view. So if you notice my torso, the root bone is actually going sideways, so you want to keep it at the middle. Just look at it from different angle to establish your shot. Okay, so I'll clear out the rotation for this spine here. I'll clear out this one too. Clear out for the head. What I want to do is bend. I'll rotate this spine a bit and rotate the torso. Rotate the head to look down So he's seeing where he's going. I mean, if I was the one, I would have phobia anyways. I don't know who else. Who else has phobia for height? At that distance, looking at the ground, I'm like, yo, I'm gonna die. Alright, so I will rotate the hands there. So the idea is to learn to observe. I mean, that's what makes a great animator, that you can actually observe any shot or any reference and replicate what you're seeing, right? So that's the idea. So just don't get yourself worked up, just pay attention. So move this leg up, Majiki, just a bit there. Okay, so I'm okay with that pose. So just look at the pose, train your eyes. If you check, there's an invisible curve right here. If I would draw a line, if I wanted to draw a line, it would draw an invisible curve right here. So that's what I'm trying. That's what you're aiming to achieve. So from here, right now, you could actually see that I'm drawing an invisible curve. So it goes here, just like a projectile, right? If you did physics back in school, right, there's something called a projectile. So it projects from here, and you're calculating where the character would land. All right. But for us, it's landing. All right, it's gonna land somewhere around here. So there's that idea that it's gonna land there. So that's the curve I'm trying to establish. So if you're wondering how I drew that curve, so just press D and draw. So if you hold down D, it activates grease pencil. Alright, so this is your grease pencil. If you press D, so you can actually draw. You know, I use it to draw or block out my character or do some calculation if I want to. You can write. So if I was using a graphics tab, I'll just basically write on my scene. Okay, so that's pretty much it. That's how you draw. Yeah, you just write on your scene. So that's what I'm trying to do. So there's the character takes off and lands. So that's the curve. So you want to use your eyes. You want to train your mind or your imagination to, think that way. So we've established these shots. So let's add a keyframe to that. So if it jumps, so the next key pose will be somewhere around here. So for that, we'll stretch the legs again. We'll just stretch it there. Bring the torso forward. Oops. So bring the torso forward a bit. So it's coming down really. So you remember the invisible curve I was talking about, right? So I'll stretch the leg. So it's a squash and stretch. I think I'll switch to object mode and increase, maybe bring my floor forward or just scale it so that I could see where my feet touches the ground. Alright, so at this point it's still mid-air. Okay, so I'll just stretch my feet just a bit right there. Still wondering why my shoes are acting up right now, but I'll fix that later. Let's not get distracted. So it happens. Okay, so for my arms, I would like to switch this to IK, just to show you how to switch from IK to FK. So I'll clear this rotation, too. Clear this one, just lift the head up a bit. So once we've established this shots here, so I think this other leg should touch the ground just a bit, just a teeny bit right there. Okay, I know it's not here, but I mean, I've been doing this for a while. If you want to establish a squash and stretch, So the leg should touch the ground first before you have this shot. So there's a shot before a shot, just like a preliminary action. So while this arm is the way it is, oops. Okay, so I'll copy, Shift, Control V to paste. Alright, so I'll select this control here, come to Tool. So you find where you see snap IK to FK or FK to IK. So right now it's in FK. Alright, so if I snap now to switch to IK, okay, do the same thing for the other arm, switch to IK. So now you now have a pull just like you have for the leg. So you now have a pull, leg pull. So you now have a hand pull for the arms pull for this character, for the IK. So I'll just position the character now. So the reason why I switched it so I could add auto stretch. So auto stretch only works in IK. So I'll switch to IK and use auto stretch. So if I select both arms, I can now stretch this character. Alright, if I look at it from the front view, I can now stretch the character like this. So remember, it's a cartoon, right? Don't be afraid to pull or to push your controls. Alright, it's a stylized cartoon. I remember when I started this course, I made reference to one of my favorite animation, which is Hotel Transylvania. So you notice there are a lot of exaggeration, a lot of stretching of the character. I believe now you start watching cartoons differently, especially if you want to become an animator. So you watch lots of animation. I think the recent one I just watched is Puss in the Boot. Alright, the newly released Puss in the Boot. Alright, Puss in the Boot, yeah, Puss in the Boot, yeah, that's the title. I just finished watching that. It's really interesting. I mean, you should watch it. It's amazing, fun character. Brought more life, brought back memories, brought back the Shrek memories. So I think that's it. So we've established this shot now, the stretch. So I'll select everything, press I to add a keyframe. So you see at this point it switches. So at frame 25, the character has landed. Okay, so you now see. So the character has landed. So at frame 25, we will now place the feet properly now. So just clear the rotation, lift the feet up to sit, or please make sure you place it on the floor properly. So I'll copy and paste it at the other side just to have the same. So I'm actually checking to clear out the rotation for each of them. So when my feet is seated now, I now bring my torso. I'm just showing you the easiest way to get work done. Bring my torso, that's my roots bone. Look at it from the front view. See the arms now. Alright, so I'll bring the hands down. So I'll clear the rotation. So I'll bring the pull forward, the leg pull, I'll just bring it forward a bit. So because if it's backward, you have this issue. Okay, so you want to be careful with this, especially this. You have to be really careful when you're animating. I rarely play. I don't mess with these two controls. It might mess you up. It can actually mess up your animations. So be careful when you pay attention. That's I keep saying it. I won't stop saying it. Pay attention to to what you're doing. No distractions. So if you notice, the character stands, squats, is trying to recover from the jump. So I would establish that shot right now, looking at it from the side view. I'll pull this control back. Alright, rotate this one forward. So I'll try to see what I was saying. These controls can mess up your work, so you have to look for that pull. Look at it here. So if for some reason you can't find a certain control, switch to wireframe so you can see it. So this is, I'm in wireframe right now, so that's why I can actually see what I'm working on. So switch to wireframe, bring out this one right here. So I'm trying to, rotate this character forward so we get this shot, or this pose rather. So bring the hands, select the hand control, bring it there, bring this one forward. So if you notice, this hand is stretched forward a bit. So look at it from the front view. So this is it. So always look at it from different angle. So this hand pull here, I'll bring it here, bring back the hand a bit. So just train your eyes to replicate what your reference is saying. That's what makes a great animator, truthfully, to be honest with you. So I'll clear out this rotation for the shoulder. I think I'll just leave the other shoulder control the way it is. Yeah. So let me look for the pull for the hand. This particular pull, yeah, that's it. So like I said, you have to be careful with especially these pulls. They can mess you up sometimes. I mean, I've emphasized it like 4 times now. You have to be careful when animating these pulls. Alright, so let's would set this to default. Just right click on it and restore default value. Okay, then add a keyframe to it. So right click, restore to default value, then hover around it, press I to add a keyframe. So drop this here. So if you notice, it's entering into the ground, so we do not want that. Or select each fingers respectively, and press S to scale. Go to wireframe, select the root finger. This last one is the root finger. So press S to scale. Maybe R to rotate it, just to spread it around. Press R to rotate this one. I know you from this angle you're not actually seeing it, but I mean, you just have to use your imagination and be as detailed as possible. I mean, nobody ever drops his hand and it passes through through the table or through the floor. I mean, unless you have some superpowers or you're operating at another frequency. Okay, I think the thumb is spread out a bit more, so I'm just stretching that out a bit, rotating it, using my S to scale, rotating, placing it right there. So for this index, I think this is the index, right? Somebody correct me. I hope I'm correct. It's the index finger, it's the middle finger, it's the ring finger, and the pinky. Yeah. Alright, so we've established that. Let's look at it from the front view. I think I'll move it to let's move it here a bit. For side view, let's bring it back so it's not overly stretched. So I'm looking at it from different angle, positioning my pole for my legs to I'm just make sure everything works fine. So for this arm, I'm taking it back just a bit. Okay, I think I'll rotate this forward. So I think I like my own shots. You know, this is a stick figure, so you won't really you won't really get precise, but something close, as in the ability to observe and, you know, recreate this pose. I mean, something you should actually look out for. Like, there's the skill you have to build. So select everything, press I to add a keyframe. So at this part is where the character stands. So at frame 30 is where the character stands. Okay, so it lands frame 30, character stands. So while this feet is still planted. Okay, we'll soon switch from IK to FK for the arms. So I'll just lift this up just a bit. Okay, so I'll select this, switch it back to FK, select this, switch back to FK. Alright, the reason why I lifted it up because it was stretched, because you do not auto stretch in FK, so I'll just put it up to its default location, so it's not stretched at that point. So I'll clear this rotation by selecting this spine, Alt R to clear, Alt R, Alt R, Alt R for the head too. Then move this up on the Z axis. Let's look at it from the front view. Let's move this here so the weight should favor this leg that is planted. The feet that is planted, the weight should favor it. So I'll pull this leg pull so here. So the weight should favor this feet here. So from the side view, so I'll still leave that this pose. I won't go to the rest pose just yet, but I'll position the arms. I'll clear this shoulder control by pressing Alt R to clear the rotation. Okay. Okay. I think I'll clear this one too. Just bring it in. So I'll select these three. I want to have this consistency from here to this one. So Control C, Control Shift V to add that there. So I'll just pull this in. Alright, so select everything, press I to add a keyframe, come to frame 35, then we establish the neutral pose. The reason why I did that is that we don't just want the character to just stand up and get to that neutral pose. Let there be a preliminary action that leads to it. So that's the anticipation. It's part of the principles of animation. So you create that anticipation, it lands, it gets up, then it reaches its resting or neutral pose there. So at this point is where we move the feet forward, clear the rotation here. Look at it from the front view, make sure the feet is planted on the ground. like the other one, or you can actually copy this, copy Control C, Control Shift V to place it there. Then from the front view you can now balance the weight now. Balance the weight. Okay, so let's balance the weight. Oops. Rotate this forward. Bring this behind. So copy and paste it the other way. So select everything, press I to add a keyframe. So you see it stands. So there's that anticipation. So it lands, stands, and comes to a resting pose. So now we're done with these shots actually. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is, first we'll select every keyframe here and select Bezier. So we'll go back to Bezier. So it has that fluid. Oops, unfortunately we animated the floor. So we'll come to this pose, this particular shot, the floor here. So from here, this is the old version, this is a new one. So anything as long as your auto key is turned on, if you try to scale anything, without checking, it will animate. So deletes every keyframe here at that particular frame, so it stays at the initial or the last default keyframe, if you get what I mean. So it lands and it stands. So finally, the next thing I'm going to show you is how to offset keyframe. So when it lands, I need it to wait a bit before it stands. So it doesn't just land and wakes up immediately. So that's where timing comes in. So that's what the timing principle comes in. So when it lands, the time it takes for it to stand up and moves to its resting position, that's what we want to establish. So how do we do that? We'll first move these two keys here forward to like maybe 40 to 45. Then we'll shift D to duplicate this pose. So it lands and it stays, it holds that pose. It's called holding. You hold that pose for a bit, then before it stands up, you hold the pose, just that's from frame 25 to maybe 35 exactly, before it stands up. Now the next part is offsetting keyframe. So how do you offset keyframe? So no body part moves at once. So your legs, your eyes, your arms, they don't just move all at once. One moves before the other. The right leg moves before the left leg. The hand swings, this one hand swings before the other one. So that's how you offset the keyframe. So that's how we're going to do it now. So we'll select this torso and we'll offset it a bit. So we want the torso, we'll bring it forward, which means we are telling Blender that we want the torso to wake first before the rest of the body. Okay, you see that, right? If you notice, the torso just stays still after it's reached its resting pose, which is not what we want. We'll come to that in a bit. So for the arms too, see it's stretched there. So we want that to. We also want this spine. To select these three spine to come forward too, just a bit. So the leg is what we want to come last. Okay. So you see, the animation is not that believable. Okay. It's not believable, as it were. So you see that the feet slide in. So how do we offset that to make that more believable? So your feet don't just slide into position, it lifts into position. So you lift the feet just a bit, just like we did in our walk cycle. Okay. So at this point where it lifts the feet wakes to that position. So you get now. And now you notice there's an anticipation on that feet. It wakes and it comes into position. Okay, so the feet comes in last. So now you notice another thing is that the torso stays stiff. So when the feet lands, so it balances the character now. So it then balances the character's weight. Okay, and also we also clear the rotation for this one. Copy and paste it the other way, such that when we come here, you can now see that subtle. It's really subtle, but you can actually see that it balances that weight. So if I select, let's say I'll look at it from the front view, and box selects everything from the top there. Okay, you can actually see it. So if I select these three, let's do it independently. So this point, so when it from the side view, so we want it to come in much later. So the torso should rest in much later. So you see it also rests in this. So that's the principle of timing and offsetting. So that's how it works. It's part of the principle of animation I spoke about at the earlier classes. So timing comes into play. So we had said we are with our imagination, with what we have in mind. We say when the feet lands, we want the spines to land last. Exactly. So when the feet lands, the spine lands last. So I think we'll do the same thing for the torso, but we'll do it much later before the spine. So the spine, remember the spine is this way, and if you select the torso is this way. So if we play it now, it's really subtle, but you can actually get the gist of it. So you see, there's another issue right now at this point. So I'm going to select all that spine right there. So at this point, it's not what I want. So I think I'll delete this control. You can actually delete controls if you're not okay. So I think I'm not okay with that. I'll undo that, and I'll see why I added that control. So I needed it to be a bit subtle. So I'm just selecting everything and rotating it. So another issue is the arms. So I'll select both arms. So at this point where it stands, okay. So I'll delete this keyframe here. So it's a bit better. It's more subtle. So there are more tweaks you can do just by observing your character, training your eyes to observe the character, so that you actually understand your character. So this torso, the weight is not balanced. So I'll look at it from the front view. So I want to balance the weights. This last keyframe will actually balance the weight here. Exactly. So for the other arms, I think we'll do the same thing. At this keyframe, the last keyframe, we'll balance the weight here. We'll clear out this. So I'll now select the three controls there. Control C, Control Shift V. Okay. So it's more realistic and believable. So when it lands, it wakes up and it moves in. So while this other feet is still planted, it moves into position. So you can actually see it there. So if I come here now, I can actually press B to box select everything and move it in just a bit. So let it happen sooner. So once it lands and it stands, let it happen sooner. If you also want it to happen later, you can actually move all the keyframe in front so it happens much slower. So remember, the tighter the keyframe, the faster the animation. Alright, so you want to place it on top of another keyframe. If not, it will take over it will overwrite the initial keyframe. So if you notice this now, it's now faster. Okay, but we want it, let it happen let it be a little bit subtle, so it lands, waits, and it stays. So you can actually apply the same thing for all of these other keyframe of setting those values. You understand? You can actually offset here. So if we come here, another best place to offset the value is this part, the feet here. So we can keep the feet planted. Okay, offset this value and say let's keep the feet planted a bit. So you see it has that stretch. So if let's add auto stretch to this one at this point here. So you see there's that anticipation and overlap. So we'll add auto stretch to this one too. So you see, so we can actually add an offset to this character and say, we tell Blender that we want this feet to stay planted even after it has stretched to the air. So before we establish this shot, so there are still more tweaks you can do to your to your character as you animate. As short as this jump body mechanics is it takes a lot of concentration, paying attention to the detail to actually get it right. All right, but for now this is basics. I mean, I would even want to switch to the graph editor to edit it using the graph editor, but I do not want to go into this detail because this is a basic class and this is already technical already. I can actually I can imagine the heat you're on right now. I mean, I don't want you stressing yourself too much. So get this one right. Let me see your progress on the group. So I'll switch to Bezier. So everything is in Bezier now. So we now have our character jumping, and we can look at it from the front view, some side view, from the top view. This is amazing. This is lovely. I mean, if you've made this much progress, congratulations. Animation is technical and can be difficult, I understand, but if you follow this technique, you can animate anything, just anything. So like I said before, how you know a great animator is your ability to observe, paying attention. All right, so in the next class, in the next lesson, I'll show you how to lift weight, how characters and weights interact. So we've learned a little bit about weights in previous lessons, so in this time we'll be going deeper into weight and constraints, how characters interact with objects, how characters can lift up objects and release objects. So that's it. That's what we're going to go into in the next lesson. And finally, to wrap up this module, we're going to show how characters interact with how the character will interact with another animation data. I know it sounds technical, but it's best explained in practice. So see you in the next lesson as we take on the character weightlifting. Bye.